The Porsche Boxster is 25 years old. Can you believe it? Well, Porsche is pretty happy of how the last quarter of a century has gone, and it's created this thing, the Porsche Boxster 25. Now, underneath it all, it's pretty much just a Boxster GTS 4 litre, but there are a bunch of new exclusive design features that means that this now commands a price of over £73,000. Is it worth it? Well, today, I'm gonna find out over the next 10 minutes or so. But before I get into the review, if you like what you see, why not give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more awesome videos just like this one. I want to start off with pricing because £73,000 sounds like a lot of money, and it is. Now, it's £6,000 more expensive than the Boxster GTS 4 litre, and you've got to bear in mind that there are no mechanical changes on the 25, it's purely cosmetic. However, Porsche says that you get about £10,000 worth of options thrown in for free with the Boxster 25, so if you think about it, it's a little bit of a bargain. Now, Porsche is only making 1,250 examples of the Boxster 25, but that's the worldwide allocation. What we'll get in the UK will be a smaller division of that. Now, as of recording, you can still pick one of these up new from Porsche, but it's going to get snapped up really quickly because it's a limited edition Porsche, and that's always the case. So if you miss out on one, why not head over to yesauto.co.uk because we've got plenty of new and used deals on Porsche Boxsters. So what are the changes between a GTS and the Boxster 25? Well, they're predominantly cosmetic, and most are inspired by the original Boxster concept car from the 90s. But the big changes, well, you can see at the front are, instead of having a gloss black fin down here on the front bumper, it's actually finished in gold, or neodyme in Porsche speak. And you'll also see that on the side vents as well. Next are the wheels. These are Bespoke 20-inch 5-spoke wheels with a neodyme centre, and the centre caps on most Porsches as standard are black and white, but in this one it comes coloured. So this one is finished in GT Silver Metallic, again, which harks back to the concept car, but if you're not a fan of it, you can also get it in Jet Black Metallic or also Carrera White Metallic. And the roof as well, you can change up. This one comes in red, you can also get it in black. Now, one of the really subtle differences between this and a GTS is most Boxsters come with a body colour surround to the windscreen, but on the Boxster 25, it's finished in matte black. You also have a little Boxster 25 logo embossed into the roof. So you'll see it down here when the roof is folded away and up here when it's folded up. And at the back, it's pretty much the same as the Boxster GTS 4 litre. However, there are some subtle differences. We get the Boxster 25 name back here, but this is the 718 generation Boxster, but there's no 718 back here like you would get on every other Boxster and Cayman. And to finish it all off, you get silver tipped exhausts instead of the regular black ones. Now, I would love to show you the engine, but unfortunately it's tucked underneath the roof cover, but I'm still going to talk about it. So as the 25 is based on a GTS 4 litre, you get this same 4 litre naturally aspirated flat six engine as the Boxster GTS, producing 400 horsepower and 420 Newton meters of torque. Now, power is sent to the rear wheels, and you get either a 6-speed manual for free or a 7-speed dual clutch gearbox, but it's a £2,300 option. Good thing is then that the manual, which we've got here, is awesome. And on the subject of options, the Boxster 25 comes with a few weird emissions, even though it comes pretty much fully loaded. So for instance, adaptive dampers, which lets you stiffen or slacken up the ride, is a £168 optional extra. Don't know why that wasn't included as standard. And then there's Power Steering Plus, which I guess some people aren't always that keen on because it basically changes the characteristics of the steering depending on how fast you're going. That's a £185 option. And if you want ceramic brakes, well, that's going to be about £5,200. Yeesh. Inside the Boxster 25 with the Bordeaux red leather interior. You can get black leather if you want something a little less vibrant, but I actually really like the red finish because in the pictures it looks a little bit garish, but in reality it's a much more subtle red that looks luxurious. It really is an incredible interior here. And you get some Porsche Boxster 25 little touches throughout the cabin too. The first one is in front of the passenger, the Boxster 25 logo, and also your car number against the overall production run. There's also a Boxster 25 logo in the middle of the rev counter, and you can also bring it up on the digital dial on the right hand side too. And of course there's Boxster 25 logos printed on the door sills. Admittedly, it's not that different to the Boxster GTS's cabin, but what you get on the Boxster 25 is a lot of options thrown in as standard. For example, you get 14-way adjustable electric sport seats that are incredibly comfortable. You also get a heated leather steering wheel, which is magnificent to hold. There are aluminium elements on the dashboard, on the doors, and also in the center console. And there's even a Porsche exclusive design fuel filler cap, so you feel special even when you're filling up. Admittedly, the infotainment system feels a little bit outdated for 2021 standards, but you're not really going to be paying much attention to it because you're going to be too busy listening to that glorious flat six exhaust note. On the road in the Boxster 25 years. And because underneath this is all Boxster GTS 4 litre, I'm going to point you towards our Boxster GTS 4 litre review, and you can watch that by clicking the link in the top right hand corner. So I'll go through some of the interior in a little bit more detail, and you can get my first impressions of what I thought when stepping into the flat six engined drop top 718. Now before we get into the drive, it's worth going over what makes the Boxster really important to Porsche and why they're celebrating 25 years of it. Now the Boxster first appeared in concept form in '93, the year I was born, as the 986 concept, and was launched as the full Boxster 3 years later. And it was a really important car because not only is it the first Porsche to carry a proper name, just think about it, all cars before the Boxster had numbers, 911, 944, etc. And since have been called things like, well, aside from the 911, Boxster, Cayman, Cayenne, Macan, etc. But it was actually one of the saviors of the company because Porsche was doing really quite badly in the 90s, with a lot of its sales really having to rely on the 911 because that was kind of really the only product that it sold. And so what the Boxster did was bring that kind of sports car Porsche driving experience at a cheaper price. Now the Boxster was kind of controversial because A, it looked a little bit weird, but it was a Porsche sports car that was mid-engined, and people were a little worried that it might actually cannibalize the 911 because on paper at least, mid-engined is better than rear-engined. But as the story's unfolded, the 911 has turned into an absolute engineering marvel, and the Boxster, I would say, with the way roads are and cars getting ever bigger, is quite possibly one of the best driver's cars you can buy in Porsche's current lineup. And I think Porsche took things to the next level with this 718 GTS because the 718 generation launched with a 2 and 2.5 litre flat 4 motor, which was not very good in all fairness. But going over to this 4 litre flat 6 has really transformed this car because there's torque throughout the rev range, but also from an audio standpoint, it sounds magnificent at low revs, nice and grumbly, and when then you're higher up in the rev range, it really screams. The only issue is that this generation of Porsche Boxster and Cayman with the flat 6 engine has extremely long gearing. It was also the same for the previous generation as well. So in second gear, you're going to be breaking the speed limit. You're going to be going over 80 miles an hour right at the top of the rev range. And in some ways, it does mean that you can't fully exploit the engine
on a public road, well, in the UK at least. But again, because there's a lot of torque, you can still really work with the car's chassis. And so deep down, while you're not going to be right at the top of the rev range all the time, you've still got a car with the engine and chassis working in near perfect harmony. The steering as well is pretty damn close to perfection too. Now, it's an electronically assisted steering rack, and a lot of electric racks, particularly a few years ago, were really numb and devoid of feeling. But damn, Porsche has absolutely nailed it in recent years, and it feels fantastic on this Boxster 25. It just feels like an old hydraulic system, so that means that there's a nice bit of weight to the wheel when you're turning into a corner, but you can also get a really good sense of the surface of the road. It's got really good texture to it, as some car journalists say, meaning that it almost feels like you're running your hand along the road surface. And when you couple the great steering with a magnificent gear change, you've got a really wonderfully physical and analog experience, which makes you feel like you're in control of the car, but also it's not difficult. The clutch, while definitely on the heavier side, won't give you a dead leg when you're going through traffic. It's got a nice and forgiving bite, and you've got a really short throw to the gear lever as well. However, I'm not going to bash you if you want to go for the PDK, because I kind of feel like Porsche really nail dual clutch gearboxes. And so if you want that more kind of sporty feeling of complete and utter performance, then I think the PDK is a great choice. It's really snappy, and it's got a lot of character too. But me personally, it's manual every time. So it sounds like I'm gushing about this Boxster 25, and it's because it's an excellent sports car. The only thing that really lets it down is the long gearing. If this was a bit shorter, I would find it extremely hard to fault. And so, is it worth the extra money over the Boxster GTS? Well, it's a £6,000 premium, and you're getting quite a lot for your money. In fact, it's almost a no-brainer, because it's a limited run Porsche. When you go to sell it on, it is going to be worth much more money than what you bought it for. And so I'd say the only downside is you're going to have to act really quickly as soon as this video goes live, because they're going to get snapped up fast. And when they do appear on the used market, expect to pay a bit of a premium, but I guess that's the price of driving a very special Porsche.